Hello and welcome to a Blood and Pigment hobby video. I am Joseph and today I'm going to be working on making some flags. I'm going to go over 3 different ways to make some decent looking flags for Blood and Plunder for your ships. And hopefully this will go pretty quick. First and easiest way to make some great looking flags for very cheap is just to download the paper templates on the Firelock Games website. They have a whole download section and they have a huge amount of flags here. I went to a FedEx store and had them printed up on some medium weight, nice-ish paper. It cost that $10 maybe to get all the flags for all the factions printed. The Dutch ones, there's so many, I don't know why. A lot of different variations. And then we just cut them out and glue them back to back, and you can put a little wave in them to make them look cool. So I'm going to do one right here. They have different sizes. These are kind of the medium sized ones. Just take a pair of scissors, cut out the flag. Some of the flags, especially the ones that have white in them, can be kind of hard to see the edges. Use a paper cutter to be a little bit more straight. And then once you get the basic shape cut out, fold it straight in half, and you can see there are little marks there. We're going to cut those out with a craft knife. There might be a better way to do this, but this is pretty easy and fast. There we go, and then we're going to use, I think this is a 16-inch dowel, which is the same size as the mast pieces on your ship. I'm going to take a just basic glue stick. This is purple and it dries white. It was just what I could rob from my kids' craft stuff. Put plenty on, make sure you get all the way up to the edges if you want it nice and neat. Can't trim these afterwards, so then try to cinch it all the way up there. And then you can just leave it straight, that's fine, or you can introduce a little bit of wave or droop in it. Kind of makes it look a little more lifelike. And then you can let that dry around the dowel, or take it off pretty quick, it's okay. But it's kind of important to cinch up this pretty good. And then you can just take this on and off your ship at will. You can trim up these edges too. I have a little bit of a white bit sticking out. Same thing there. I'll just trim that up when it's dry. I've done about 40 or 50 of these from the templates on the Firelock website. Real easy, low effort. The biggest thing is printing them. A lot of people have printer access either at home or at work, or you can just actually go pay for it to be done. That's the first way. Very easy and effective. Second way is with craft foam that like some people use for sails. You can get it in sheets. This is a bit of a dead piece, but really cheap, flexible, has some body to it. Cut out a square and paint it. I'm going to make a Dutch flag real quick, see how fast it goes. I started one here with orange. I did a little research on the Dutch flag, and it sounds like it started out red, white, and blue, and then it switched to orange, white, and blue for a while, and then back to red, white, and blue, and that's the most common and official way of color scheme. Let's see how fast I can put this together. I'm going to use a Vallejo Prussian blue for my blue. I want to try to get close to 1/3 each. This is about 6 centimeters. I'm going to do little marks to help me. Use a medium brush. This takes paint pretty well. It can take it pretty thick. If you water your paint down, it takes a couple coats. So the straight edge is obviously the hard part. Disadvantage to this style of flag is you can't really put much wave to it. Can't make it look like it's catching the wind, but you can see what flag it is really well. But it's just thick enough. I think you want to get the edges too. Just gonna do one side at a time, obviously. Takes paint pretty well. And for my red, I'm going to use a nice bright red. That seems to be consistent with whatever I see. I'm just going to use Citadel Mephiston red. That's not too bright, really. It's pretty rich. Apparently the French kind of stole the Dutch flag and flipped it around in the 18th century. White is a bit thick. Let's put some more red in here. Don't want to. I got some on the table, which is really bad because if I get it on the white, probably not gonna salvage this. Just get the edges, and then this will be half done. Just need to wait for the other side to dry. Easy, quick. This is a big flag, probably 7 by 10 or 12 feet compared to a model. Even bigger. And then I would, for this style, I would just punch holes in the corners and then tie it to my dowel like so. And it's a little hard to take on and off, but you can do it. Or if you need to switch nationalities for your ship, you can just snip that. I use this elastic string. You can just snip that and tie it on a new ship. Anyway, there's a orange and a blue, red version. It's easy. And then the third method, this is my first try with this, so we'll see if it actually works. I'm using real cloth. This is just a basic muslin $3 a yard at a fabric store. I'm painting the flag on that, and then I'm going to try to, this is for the stern of a ship, the big flag back there. I'm going to try to make it, I'm going to put some water and glue on it and then try to shape it into a big droopy flag. Cloth doesn't, obviously at this scale, doesn't act like a huge heavy flag would, because it just doesn't have any weight to it compared to a real flag. So I've done the first half here. Let me see. I kind of traced out an X. This might be a little thin as far as the cross goes, but I'm just, then once I get to the other side, it's pretty easy. I'm using a darker red. For some reason, Spanish makes, I like the darker red for the Spanish flag. So I'm using corn red from Citadel's line. I found that you need to water the paint a little bit more, or thin down the paint a little bit more when you're working with cloth, because otherwise it doesn't soak in and you get white patches. So put some water in here. Introducing my basic X, just tracing. I want to get as close as I can to the same setup as the other side because it bleeds through. Interested to see if this actually works. Dutch flag would have been easier to do. The Spanish flag with the little nubs on the St. Andrew's cross is a bit trickier. I should have done English flag. That would have been easy too. Treating this brush a little rough. It's not a good one. I'm going to use the same method I talked about with the foam flags, where you just punch a hole and tie it to your flag staff for this. But I was talking to a guy, my friend and colleague, and he was saying he uses super glue. He folds over the end of the flag around a piece of metal and then glues it basically into a tube at the end of the flag. And the glue doesn't stick to the metal, so you can, but it really fuses the cloth together really well. So you can kind of make a tube that you can slide on and off the wooden masts with cloth pretty easily. This is a bit hard to make nice, even, and straight edges on cloth. Use a bit smaller brush to do the little pointy bits. A bit harder to see where these are on the other side. So. This flag went through some variations too. I play a couple GMT board games. Here I stand a Virgin Queen, and they use this Burgundy Cross for the Habsburg dynasty, but it's a yellow flag with the red. So that's honestly what I'm more familiar with. Hoping this dries pretty quick so I can try the glue. Probably not a good idea. Nice and quick. Let's go back and fiddle with our foam flag a little bit more while we let this dry. Look like we did a pretty good job not messing that up. Let's do this one. I painted it 15 minutes ago. Here's that muslin I was talking about. $3 worth will last you a lot of flags. This is a leather hole punch. I just put on the smallest setting and get the corners. Punch them out. I guess I don't really want to put this on a pole. I want to put it actually on a ship. So I really should paint the other side first. But that's how I punch the corners. You can just tie this on any ship you want. Let's see how this one is done. See, if your glue is set, then you have kind of a tube here. I guess you really wouldn't necessarily have to cut these, but I guess it looks good. Let's trim off this excess. Careful, you don't have to do this. There we go. Yeah, I've done a ton of these. This is my default because there's just too many flags to make the hard way. But if you just want to do one nation or something, some of these other variations can be nice. All right, let's see if we can mix up some of this. I'm going to water down some just white PVA glue. I'm going to punch those holes too. Still a little wet. And after I put glue over this, I will trim the edges a little bit again, because right now they will fray once I put the glue on it. They shouldn't have that problem. That worked well in the cloth too, especially with a little paint on it. Worked great. But I really should wait a little bit longer on that before I put the glue on it. I'll probably just sit here and wait for a minute and edit this part out. So, let your paint dry, and then we'll do the next step. Well, we're back, and I let this dry a little more. I also made a big goof while I was working with it. I had to patch it with some paint, not what I wanted to do, but I'm going to go ahead and tie it on the flagpole here with this elastic thread. Punch my holes. This is just similar to the thread that you get with the rigging kits for the ships. This is quite a bit thinner. I just bought this at a fabric store. It doesn't tell me the diameter, but it's very thin and not as obnoxious and easy to see. I just tie double knot and the elastic holds it pretty tight once you do that kind of knot, so I don't necessarily need to glue it. Tie a third for good measure. Trim. So while I was waiting for it to dry, I set it on my paint palette, which had a big blob of blue paint on it, and got blue right in the middle of my flag, and I had to patch it with white, and it's not as perfect as it once was. Hopefully when I introduce the folds to it, I can kind of hide that part that I fouled up so bad. There we go. So what I want to do with the glue is let it fall kind of like that with some folds in it. I'm going to take another break and let it dry some more. This paint is not ready for water and glue on it. So I'll be back in a few minutes. Alright, we're back. We've let this dry pretty well. We're going to try to put some of this watered down glue on it. I'm going to make a little more of it. I'm going to put it on, not very watery, but pretty thin. We're just trying to make it pliable and then let it dry in a more or less consistent shape. Alright, I'm going to use a big wide brush, not a nice brush. A little more water. Here's where I have it. We'll see if that works. Looks like my red is dry well enough. Not going to be a problem. Still have some blue paint peeking through here from my foul up, which I'll just touch up after I get this thing in the shape I want. Alright, now I got nice and heavy. And let's see if we can introduce a couple folds to it. Maybe I'll let it dry some and then see if I can shape it and let it finish drying. It's already drooping more like a real flag, heavy, big flag would. But to get those kind of signature folds. Yeah, it's already getting sticky and tacky. That's good. All right, I'm just gonna set that up to dry, and I'll come back and check it again. All right, somebody hold my flag up. Come back in another few minutes. All right, I'm back. I've let this dry for 5 minutes, and it's doing what I want, so I'm gonna end it here. It's once you get that glue on it and it gets a little bit less than totally wet, you can kind of shape it however you want, and then just let it hang there and dry as you will. So that's kind of what I was after. This will look great on the back of my ship. I'll have to touch up some of the careless blobs I got on it, but that's what I want. I'll probably make a couple different nations worth of these to put on my different ships. So that's just cloth, paint it, let it dry, and then put white glue and water on it to make it crunchy, basically, and to give it some form and shape. So we got 3 different ways to do it. We got the foam, got the cloth, and we got the paper. They're all cheap. This one's the least work, medium work, most work, and most apt to mess up. So there's some options for flags. If you know some other good ones, feel free to comment or let me know. But I hope this helps, and good luck.